Hello, Math Humans. We're going to do 5.1 today. We're going to start chapter on personal finance. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is basic budgeting. So budget is a word that people use, but they often don't explain what it is. And a budget is simply looking at how much money you have and how you want to use the money that you have. So if we just take a gross look, meaning that kind of the big picture, so a budgeting basic is going to be you have money coming in, and then we have money going out. And the hope is that there's some money left over when you're done. Money in is often called income, and money out is often called expenses. Okay? This is going to be a positive number. This is going to be a negative number because this means I owe somebody money. Okay? So if we think about what's coming in, maybe I have a job, and so I'm going to get money from my job. And maybe I work a second job, and so I'm going to have money coming in from that as well. And so then maybe my expenses could be my rent, or it could be a mortgage if you're buying a house or a condo or something like that. It could be utilities, okay? It could be your cell phone. Got to have our cell phones to be able to survive. Groceries, so we need to have food. And then it could be clothing. So how much money each month are you going to spend on clothes? Sometimes this depends on what type of job you have. And then maybe I have a car payment. Okay? So one of the things that we have to do is we have to start thinking about as we talk about how much money is coming in and how much money is going out. We have a conversation with ourselves of needs, which is a huge one, versus wants. Okay? So Maslow's basic hierarchy of needs says that we need food, shelter, and clothing. Okay? Now that doesn't mean that I need designer clothes, and it doesn't mean that I need to eat at a 5-star restaurant, but my basic needs are food, shelter, and clothing. My wants could be maybe fun clothes. Maybe it could be a nice car, not just a car that serves a purpose. Maybe it could be having coffee out because we love our coffee. Maybe it could be the type of TV service that I want. So that could maybe mean cable or streaming, whatever type of TV you want. Okay? Maybe it could be a gym membership. So those are wants. And so one of the things that we tend to get mixed up are the needs versus the wants. Remember that our basic needs are food, shelter, and clothing. So there's an interesting rule in budgeting. I'll do that in black. And you can look it up online. But a basic budgeting rule is called the 50-30-20 rule. That means that 50% of my money goes to my needs, 30% of my money goes to my wants, and then 20% of however much money I'm bringing in goes to my money goals. So maybe that would be savings, or it could be retirement. Okay, so those are the two things. Alrighty, so we'll talk about this as we move through the chapter. But the 50-30-20 rule would mean that 50% are going to go to my needs, and remember that our basic needs are food, shelter, and clothing. 30% of my salary, or the money that I'm bringing in, would go to things that I want, and 20% of my money might be going towards your goals. So I just have a quick little example to talk about that. So let's say you're going to make your income is going to be $32,000 a year, okay? And that's your gross salary. So we're going to assume away reality, and we're not going to talk about tax. We're not going to talk about taxes. So we're not going to talk about what percentage of your paycheck comes out to go to taxes. So let's say you want to figure out your money. So of the 32,000, if I multiply that by 0.50, that's going to be 16,000 that would go to my needs. And remember that this is your annual money, not your monthly money. So $16,000 a year would go to my needs. So then if I take that 32,000 and I multiply it by 0.30, so let's do that. 32 times 0.3, that means that $9,600 would go towards things that I want, and then the 20%, the 32,000 times 0.20, 32 times 0.2 is going to be $6,400. And this is going to go, let's say we put it in savings so that I can save for a car, I could save for a vacation, I could save for other things. So if you use the 50-30-20 rule, this would be what you would do with your money over the year. And so you have to make sure that you plan ahead, because otherwise it's just too easy to spend money and not know where it wants to go. Okay? Alrighty, so that would be a quick example. So the last thing that I want to talk about is ways to manage a budget. And if you look online, there are lots of different things that you can do. There are really lots and lots and lots of different people that have advice on how you can manage your budget. So for example, one system would be a cash-only system. So that means you would only use cash, and maybe you divide your cash up into an envelope system. And so that means, let's say you had $200 a month that you wanted to put into gas, and maybe you had $500 a month to go toward food, and then let's say your rent was $1,000 a month, okay, and then we would have other monies to go into other things. So if you had maybe an envelope for phone, and then you had an envelope for utilities, okay, and so the idea behind the envelope system is that the money that you have allocated, you would put cash in each of your envelopes, and then you spend only until the cash is gone. So if the cash runs out, then you have no additional money to spend on those. So this is a really cool system, and a lot of people use this when they're trying to get their budget under control. Another way to manage a budget is with an Excel spreadsheet. And I will tell you that at different times of my life, I have used both systems. When we felt like our finances were out of control, we cut up our credit cards, and we used a cash-only system to make sure that we were only spending what we made. And then as we became more comfortable, that now we manage our finances using a spreadsheet. So the way that works in my household is we do it on a monthly basis. So if you take your income and then you deduct, and when we're talking about money, I'm going to put my taxes. So I'm going to put what percentage comes out of my paycheck each month. And if you use the pointy brackets, that means negative when we're talking about money. So then I'm going to take my net income. So it's my income after taxes. So however much the government gets for Social Security and for all of those other things that we pay taxes on. So I'm going to take my net income and I'm going to divide it by 12 because there's 12 months in a year, and that's going to be the money that I get to spend each month. And so then in our spreadsheet, we would have that dollar amount per month at the top. That's a positive number. And then we start writing down expenses. So we have some for a house payment or my mortgage, right? We have a spot for food. We have a spot for clothing, okay? And so we fill in the different things. So, and then when I spend money on food, then I would go into my Excel spreadsheet and then I would add each of those expenditures up and then sum it in my expenses. So we're not going to do a spreadsheet, but it's just another way to manage it. And then at the end of the month, it tells me what my balance is. So if I spent too much or however much, it shows me what's left over at the end of a month. So there's lots of different ways that you can manage a budget, but those are just some budgeting basics. Alrighty, that's it for today. I will talk to you soon.